Welcome to our workplace. The reason you are watching this induction program is because, as an organisation, we are committed to providing a safe and healthy work environment for our workers and visitors, and as such believe that no job should be performed that could compromise the safety of our people or our processes. To ensure these commitments are fulfilled, we have developed policies, procedures and guidelines to address the main hazards present in our working environment. We take the health and safety of our workers and visitors extremely seriously. There are more work-related deaths in Australia than the national road toll and the number of homicides in Australia combined. Since you heard me utter the words, "Welcome to our workplace," there have already been 20 people injured in workplaces around Australia alone. Many of these accidents, injuries and diseases can occur when workers like yourself are new to the job. Your first few weeks in a new job can be an exciting and challenging time, with new people to meet, new procedures to learn, and a new environment to become accustomed to. The first few weeks can also be a dangerous time unless you are aware of the hazards associated with your new working environment. Workplace health and safety legislation states that our organisation has a duty of care and is legally obligated to provide a safe and healthy working environment, provide safe systems of work, ensure plant and equipment are in a safe condition, provide facilities of a prescribed kind for the welfare of our workers, provide any information, instruction, training and supervision reasonably necessary to ensure that each worker is safe from injury and risks to health. Workers also have a duty of care to take responsible care for the health and safety of themselves and of any other person who may be affected by their acts or omissions. Workers are prohibited from intentionally or recklessly interfering with or misusing anything provided in the interest of health and safety, and they must comply with any health and safety matters relevant under the Act. Failure to comply with these rules and regulations will result in disciplinary action being taken, which may include the termination of your employment. Do not change procedures, safe systems of work, or rules to suit yourself. Rather, discuss any ideas for improvement with your supervisor. We believe that if you set a good example, others will follow. Having an effective workplace health and safety program in place benefits everyone at work and the health and safety procedures, and we expect that the systems that we have put in place to form part of that program becoming an integral part of your daily work routine. From the very outset, you must be aware that no job in this workplace is so important or so urgent that it can't be done safely. Safety must be at the front of your mind in every task you undertake. At the end of this video, check to see how you can actively participate in our health and safety program. The following modules will assist you in becoming familiar with the hazards present in this workplace and will provide you with some valuable information that could prevent you from being injured or ill as a result of work. Please remember, safety first in every task you undertake. Hello, and welcome to Safety 1%ers. In a sporting context, a 1%er is that little bit extra you do that makes all the difference. In this video, we're going to discuss just that. As an organisation, we are committed to providing a safe and healthy work environment for our workers and visitors, and as such believe that nothing you do at work is so important or so urgent that it can't be done safely. Having an effective workplace health and safety program in place benefits everyone at work, and it's important that you know the most important component of that program is you. Our aim is to provide you with a safe and healthy working environment, safe systems of work, safe plant and equipment, appropriate information, instruction, training, and supervision. That is not only our moral obligation, It is a legal requirement under the latest WHS laws. Whether you are an employee, a contractor, subcontractor or their employees, an outworker, an employee of a labour hire company, an apprentice or trainee, a volunteer or even a student gaining work experience, those laws also require you to take reasonable care for your own health and safety, and the health and safety of others around you, who may be affected by what you do or fail to do. You are also prohibited from intentionally or recklessly misusing or interfering with anything provided in the interests of health and safety. But this program is about safety 1%ers. That little bit extra we can all do to make our workplace safe. So our first tip is to use your eyes, ears, nose, and mouth, but not just once, constantly. Imagine our workplace if everyone was on the constant lookout for hazards. For the record, a hazard is a condition or situation that exists at our workplace, which could result in physical harm, injury, and/or damage. It could be anything from a frayed electrical cord to a noisy machine to cartons stacked precariously. If you see something that isn't right, let the appropriate person know immediately. He or she could be your health and safety rep, and/or committee, your supervisor, or someone in the management team. Once a hazard has been identified, most risk control plans are made up of a number of elements, from what is commonly referred to as the hierarchy of controls. Many hazards will be able to be controlled immediately, and may involve little or no cost. However, some hazards would only be fixed through significant changes to the way you do the work, the equipment or substance you use, or layout of the workplace. When you can't control all the hazards straight away, you need to decide on which ones to deal with first. Deciding which hazards are the most serious will involve assessing the risks associated with the hazards. Where possible, control should focus on making the workplace safe. Control measures which require considerable financial investment will obviously require time, planning, and budget allocation. In this case, a jointly agreed program might incorporate short-term or interim control measures and longer-term engineering or substitution control measures. If you're stuck and not sure about how to control a certain risk, use the hierarchy of controls. The best form of control is to eliminate the hazard. If you can't do this, work your way down the hierarchy. Can the practice or the hazardous substance be substituted with a less hazardous process? If that is not practical, can the hazard be isolated by separating it from people? For example, could the area be fenced off or could barriers be erected? If the hazard cannot be eliminated, substituted, or isolated, an engineering control is the next preferred option. This could mean installing a guard or introducing remote stop and start buttons. Next on the hierarchy of controls is administrative controls. This could include regular rest breaks for keyboard operators or reduced exposure to hazard by rotating jobs, extra supervision and training. The introduction of written procedures can all be effective administrative controls. Personal protective equipment should be considered only when other control measures are not practical, as PPE is the least effective way of dealing with hazards. Personal protective equipment is the last line of defense. It is the last choice used after all other controls have been tried. The provision of PPE must be accompanied by training in its proper use, fitting, cleaning and maintenance. The general rule is the higher in the hierarchy, the better the control. It is essential that our hazard management program is constantly monitored and evaluated. This will not only ensure that the controls we have implemented are working, but will provide valuable feedback on the effectiveness of our program. Again, whilst on site, if you see, hear or smell anything odd, take note. If you think it could be a hazard, tell someone. Our second tip is consult. It's a well-recognized fact that consultation is by far the best means of approaching health and safety issues at work. Others can witness the same issues or hazards at work as you do, but no one will share exactly the same perception or thought process as you do. Therefore, your thoughts and ideas have value. So speak up. The only silly idea is the one not put forward. 1%er number 3 is to report all near misses. A near miss is an incident that does not cause injury, ill health or property damage, but only through luck or timely intervention. Sometimes workers are reluctant to report a near miss for reasons best known by them. But a recent study has shown that there is a direct correlation between near miss risks and the occurrence of serious accidents causing injury or death in the workplace. It seems that for every serious or major injury, there are 10 minor injuries, 30 incidents of property damage, and 600 incidents that could have resulted in injury or property damage but didn't. In other words, near misses. That's 600 signposts that could have flagged that an incident was eventually going to occur, if only those signposts had been reported. The reason? Well, no one got hurt and no damage occurred, so why worry? Simply doesn't cut it in our workplace. Reporting a near miss will have management acting on the report, and potential problems or hazards may be fixed before someone actually ends up getting hurt. Our final 1%er is to focus. We believe that if you set a good example, others will follow. Put safety at the front of your mind in every task you undertake. Remember, nothing that you do at our workplace will ever be so important or so urgent that it can't be done safely.
It's a well-known fact that fatigue will affect your performance in the workplace. If your workplace happens to be behind the wheel of a motor vehicle, then that fatigue could be a killer. Fatigue is more than simply falling asleep at the wheel. If you're feeling exhausted or tired, if you're reacting slower than normal, your coordination feels off, not judging things correctly, then chances are you're fatigued. When you're opening windows for air, turning the stereo up, blinking and willing your eyes to stay open, it's time to pull over and sleep. It's time to pull over and sleep. The only cure for fatigue is sleep. Other warning signs that fatigue could be getting the better of you include drowsiness and blurred vision, constant yawning, poor concentration, missing road signs, heavy or sore eyes, head begins to nod, lack of concentration, not remembering the last few kilometers of your trip, feeling irritable and restless, when your neck is struggling to keep your head erect, and when you're having difficulty staying in your lane. Fatigue is usually caused by a lack of quality sleep, working long hours, driving long hours, taking drugs or alcohol, insufficient rest breaks when driving, delays in loading and unloading, poor rosters, driving at night when your body clock is telling you it's time to sleep, poor levels of health and fitness. Exercise, diet and a healthy lifestyle will certainly help with reducing fatigue on the road. If you're an employer, prime contractor or operator, if you schedule goods, passengers or drivers, are a consignor or consignee of goods for transport, whether you load goods for transport, unload them or manage the people that perform these tasks, you are part of the supply chain, and under law you have a responsibility to prevent driver fatigue. For example, consignors must not make unfair or unrealistic demands on operators or drivers. Operators need to regularly and constantly assess the risks in order to properly plan transport workflows so that driver fatigue can be minimised. Drivers must remain drug and alcohol free and follow the rules and procedures that have been designed to reduce their risk of becoming fatigued. Receivers need to ensure their procedures and workflow don't cause unnecessary delays and that they're not setting unrealistic delivery times. It's important that all parties share responsibility to manage driver fatigue and cooperate and consult with each other to address fatigue risks. The risks can be identified by inspecting workplace rosters and work time records, consulting with the drivers, asking them their thoughts about the schedules and rosters, looking at the loading and unloading times and checking for delays, analysing injury and incident reports, consulting with workplace OH&S representatives and committees, conducting safety audits, undertaking driver surveys. Keep a record of your findings, as this will make an excellent starting point for future reviews. Also check the fatigue management option under which the driver is operating, the accreditation details of the operator, if applicable, that the driver is complying with relevant work, rest and speed limit requirements, and that the driver is not impaired or likely to become impaired by fatigue. Length of shifts worked and the hours and type of work performed on previous days. The time of the day when the work is being performed. The work environment, whether vibration, noise or climate is a risk. Human factors like age, experience, health and physical fitness. Another factor that can contribute to driver fatigue is the time necessary for a driver to travel to and from work. It's worth noting that if a driver breaches their work and rest requirements, that all other parties in the supply chain can also be held liable unless they can show that all reasonable steps have been taken to ensure that their activities or functions haven't caused or contributed to a driver driving while fatigued. Reasonable steps include adopting a risk management approach to the management of driver fatigue, becoming accredited under a recognised accreditation scheme, reviewing business practices such as training, auditing and contingency planning, and making sure your commercial relationships are not causing your organisation to breach your responsibilities in relation to driver fatigue. It should be noted that the responsibilities of the supply chain do not relieve drivers from their responsibility. As a professional driver, you should talk to your scheduler manager about your shifts. Never agree to a roster where you have to drive longer than legal hours. Make sure your trips include plenty of time for breaks and recovery. Discuss beforehand what you can do if you're fatigued and unlikely to meet your deadline. The optimum amount of required daily sleep is considered to be between 6 to 8 hours. Each day you don't have enough sleep, you build up a sleep debt, which is like a bank loan. It has to be paid back to avoid fatigue. It's not necessary to repay every hour of sleep debt immediately. However, if you're driving for long hours, you're in a high-risk occupation. The hours you devote to sleeping shouldn't be compromised to fit in with social and domestic activities. You should avoid consuming large amounts of food or alcohol before bedtime, as it will reduce the quality and amount of sleep you get for the night. Take time to explain to your family and friends just how important sleep is to you and your safety at work. The best time for good quality sleep is in the early morning hours between midnight and 6 a.m. When you're not driving, if possible, it's best to try to schedule sleep during this period. Before your trip, try to build up some sleep deposits in your bank. Ensure you have a good night's sleep before you start your trip and take an afternoon nap if you're starting back on night shift. Plan around your body clock when scheduling breaks or naps and try to organize them before you become fatigued. Your body temperature, heart rate, blood pressure, breathing rate and adrenaline production will normally rise during the day and fall at night when, under normal circumstances, it's time to sleep. It will also fall at siesta time, the 2 hours after lunch. Conversely, alertness will be heightened in the morning light, late afternoon and early evening. Sleep occurring during the hours our body clock has marked as awake hours tend to be shorter and more disjointed and therefore less effective. Something to think about when planning rest breaks and naps. When you do stop, get out and stretch your legs or go for a quick walk. Try to develop a routine that provides you with regular doses of sleep, relaxation, exercise, as well as regular and sensible meal times. When driving, take regular 20 to 30-minute power naps. Keep the cab at a comfortable temperature with plenty of fresh air. Drink plenty of water and eat sufficient fresh food, including fruit and vegetables. Caffeine will perk you up for a short time, but too much of it will dehydrate your body, can bring on headaches, can cause digestive, cardiac and other problems, and becomes progressively less effective because your body adapts to it. So there we have it, a few suggestions on how you and your organization can get up to speed with the new fatigue laws. Please share this information with your family so they can provide support and understand the importance of adequate sleep. The estimated annual cost of heavy vehicle fatigue-related crashes in Australia is $50 million. That's the dollar amount. The human cost is devastating. For your own sake, please, drive carefully.